ตอนนี้มันก็เห็นในสไลด์พี่กัน
ไม่เป็นไรเอาออกมาโอเคครับได้ยินไหมชัดไหม
And the mics are still
แล้วจะต่อไหมเพื่อความชัวร์ลองต่อกัน Let me try this Hello test ได้ยินไหมครับโอเคได้ยินไหมครับ
Want to test this mic?
Yeah you can
I think
try
this should be okay.
Yeah
Okay.
Okay we are good and we'll use this camera instead of this
Perfect. Use computer's camera.
Yes โอเคครับกลับมาอีกครั้งหนึ่งนะครับขออภัยนะครับห่างหายจากการไลฟ์ไปนานเลยมีปัญหาทางเทคนิคนิดนึงนะครับแต่วันนี้นะครับเราอยู่กับเจ้าหน้าที่จาก Douglas College นะครับนี่คือวิทยาลัยนะครับ Douglas College เป็นวิทยาลัยของรัฐบาลนะครับตั้งอยู่ในย่านเมืองแวนคูเวอร์นะครับในรัฐบริติชโคลัมเบียนะครับประเทศแคนาดานะครับซึ่งวันนี้ผมมีแขก2ท่านนะครับก็คือคุณเดวิดแล้วคุณลีโอนะครับจากวิทยาลัย Douglas College ที่จะมาพูดคุยกันนะครับว่าDouglas College เนี่ยน่าสนใจอย่างไรนะครับรวมถึงคำถามที่เราอาจจะมีกันเกี่ยวกับการเปลี่ยนแปลงในเรื่องของวีซ่านักเรียนแคนาดานะครับรวมถึงเรื่องของ PGWP นะครับรวมถึงโปรแกรมที่น่าสนใจของ Douglas ที่น่าจะไปเรียนแล้วขอ PGWP ได้หลังจากนี้เนี่ยมีอะไรบ้างแล้วก็คำถามอื่นๆที่สามารถจะอัปเดตเพิ่มเติมได้นะครับแล้วก็ระหว่างที่รับชมอยู่นะครับถ้าใครมีคำถามอะไรที่อยากให้เราตอบเนี่ยสามารถที่จะพิมพ์มาในแชทได้เลยนะครับทั้งทาง Facebook แล้วก็ทาง YouTube นะครับเดี๋ยวเราจะตอบให้นะครับเพราะวันนี้เรามีทั้งผมนะครับกันนะครับที่เป็นเอเจนต์เป็นตัวแทนอย่างเป็นทางการของ Douglas College นะครับแล้วก็คุณเดวิดเป็นเจ้าหน้าที่ของวิทยาลัยนะครับที่อาจจะช่วยแนะนำเรื่องของโปรแกรมการเรียนเรื่องของบริการหรือว่าความน่าสนใจของ Douglas นะครับแล้วก็มีคุณลีโอที่เป็น IRCC ด้วยนะครับหมายความว่ามีไลเซนส์พูดถึงเรื่อง Immigration ของแคนาดาได้แล้วก็มีตำแหน่งเป็น Vice President ของที่ Douglas นะครับแล้วก็เพื่อไม่เป็นการเสียเวลานะครับเดี๋ยวให้ทั้งสองท่านแนะนำตัวก่อนนะครับว่าเป็นใครทำอะไรอยู่นะครับ Alright let's get started with the introduction would you mind to maybe introduce yourself your position what you do at the college
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. My name is Leonel Roldan Flores. I am the Vice President of International Education at Douglas College. And my job is to basically make sure that my team, which includes around 45 people, has the resources necessary to do their job, which is international student recruitment, international student services, and global engagement in general. And in that team, he is a very important part of it. And you go and introduce yourself, Dave.
Okay, I will. Thank you very much for the opportunity to invite us to KPG, which is one of our key agent partners who have been supporting us in Thailand for many years. And my name is David Chen. I'm one of the marketing manager looking after the East and Southeast Asia countries. My role is mainly to coordinate and be attending all the international student recruitment activities in this region and work closely with our agent networks for student recruitment purposes. Yeah.
All right, thank you for the introduction. Let's talk a bit more about the college, why students might want to consider maybe BC first, and then why Douglas College might be a good option for Thai students to consider, but maybe talk about BC and Vancouver first, from your point of view.
Sure, yeah. From my point of view, Vancouver is one of the favorable cities for many Asian people. I think Vancouver became internationally known since Expo in 1986, back in more than 30 years ago. And Vancouver being very attractive for Asian markets or countries for various reasons. I will highlight 3 reasons. One is Vancouver being the most livable city in the world in terms of living standard, environment, natural beauty, and activities that the people can do. And very consistently ranked the top 5 most livable city in the world in the past decades. And secondly, I think especially for Thai people, I think the weather, the climate is one of the primary concerns. So Vancouver being the only paradise city in Canada where you don't have to suffer from severe cold weather throughout the winter time. And lastly, which is very, very important for parents consider sending their kids to outside countries, is the safety. So Vancouver being one of the safest city where people from all over the world choose to live and study. And for Douglas College, for many reasons, students would choose to Douglas College. Then I'll give you a very few primary reasons. One is our institution is a public institution, means that we have high education standard, very good reputation. And also our program tend to be more practical. Students will find it easier to find jobs. And also very importantly, students will pay lower tuition fee, enjoy the high quality education at the same time. And in terms of selecting the institution, I think my advice for students is the program driven. Right. So it's not go for the institution, it's the type of program that the students feel interested in learning. Then you begin choosing the institution secondary. So I think in Vancouver, then we have many public institutions. We don't have a ranking. We are very friendly to each other. I think the key thing is that the program that students interested in learning, that's top priority. And then the location and transportation, student services, and also the support services that the student will receive. I think that becomes all kind of key factors that the students will consider when choosing an institution to begin their post-secondary education in Canada.
Yeah, that is very good summary on the cities and how to choose program and what Douglas would be a good option. Why Douglas would be a good option to the students, right? But the approach of choosing the programs that suit student need for education and training would be the key factor to consider. And then there are a number of programs that Douglas has to offer, and we can certainly discuss more about the programs later. But Leo, do you have anything else to add from your point of view than what David has mentioned about Vancouver and Douglas?
Not really. I think that he was very thorough. I always think of the province, in Vancouver, because of its history, its demography, and its geography. It's very much looking towards Asia, the Asia Pacific. So I would just point to that and the fact that we've had a really, really large Asian diaspora in the province since the 1800s, right? And that just gives Vancouver a really different flavor from other cities in Canada. So I would just add that to what David just discussed.
Okay, thank you. And do you want to move on to the visa then PGWP, and then we can also talk about programs? Yeah. Would that be okay? Okay, ก็อันนี้เป็นintroduction คร่าวๆนะครับแต่เดี๋ยวที่เราจะคุยกันต่อเนี่ยก็จะเป็นในเรื่องของอัปเดตนะครับเกี่ยวกับความเปลี่ยนแปลงในเรื่องของวีซ่านะครับนักเรียนแคนาดานะครับรวมถึงPGWP นะครับที่กำลังมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงกันอยู่นะครับรวมถึงลิสต์ของโปรแกรมที่ดักลาสเนี่ยน่าจะ เปิดให้นักเรียนต่างชาติเข้าเรียนแล้วก็ยังคงขอ PGWP ได้มีอะไรน่าสนใจรวมถึงคำถาม follow up ต่างๆที่อาจจะมีนะครับใครที่ชมอยู่นะครับมีคำถามอะไรที่เกี่ยวข้องกับวิทยาลัยนะครับ Bachelor College หรือว่าเกี่ยวกับวีซ่าเกี่ยวกับ PGWP เนี่ยพิมพ์ถามมาได้นะครับในแชททั้งทาง Facebook แล้วก็ YouTube เลยนะเพราะว่าวันนี้ผมนะครับเดวิดแล้วก็รีโอที่มีลายเส้นเป็น IRCC ด้วยเนี่ยจะช่วยตอบแล้วก็พูดถึงเรื่องพวกนี้ได้นะครับสามารถถามมาได้นะครับแต่ว่าระหว่างนี้นะครับเดี๋ยวเราเริ่มต้นด้วยคำถามแรกเลยดีกว่าครับ Okay so since later last year until this year what are some of the key update on student visa application we will talk about PGWP later but student visa application like fund requirement and maybe like other things what are the key updates
I think we were discussing earlier, there's been a series of changes that the Ministry of Immigration has brought in since, I believe, November of last year. So the first change was increasing the amount of funding that international students needed in order to get a study permit.
Right.
And that basically doubled from $10,000 or something like that to $21,000.
It's 26 something, but
20,689 something, a strange number like that. So basically, it doubled. So that was the first change, and that happened, I think, in November of 2023.
Right.
Then in January, at the end of January of 24, there were two further changes. One of them was to the postgraduate work permit for spouses who no longer could get an open work permit while their partner went to school. And the second important change was an actual cap in the number of international students that immigration was going to process in terms of study permits. And it also impacted the provinces because now the provinces had to give a provincial attestation letter, so basically a certificate attesting to the fact that the institution that was providing the letter of admission was a good institution, an institution in good standing, and that institution actually did have room for that international student. So those changes caused quite a bit of commotion in the system because we were not expecting those changes. There was very little consultation done from with industry, and in the case of the provincial attestation, the provinces were not in a position to issue those because they didn't have the system. So it took a good couple of months before some of these changes were able to be enacted, right, or to be worked by institutions, and that had a really big effect on our summer numbers. And I would say that every one of those changes has had a compounding effect on recruitment, not only at Douglas and in BC, but I would certainly say that across Canada, we all have felt those changes. So
yeah, but since this happened, these changes are now stable, right? I mean, we're not talking about PGWP yet. That will be the following topic. But the PAL are now able to be issued by most of the institutions, and Douglas can do that. And Douglas has many PALs that can be issued to international students. So these changes are already solved.
Correct. So all of those changes are already part of the way that we work. So we were able to make them part of our workflow, and we now have the ability to issue the provincial attestation letter along with the letter of acceptance. So they go together, and once that is given to the student can then go to the Canadian consulate or the visa center and start
Submit,
working on the
application.
study proposal, not the study permit.
Yeah, okay. Let me recap this, then we talk about PGWP in Thai a bit. ก็การเปลี่ยนแปลง3อย่างที่ลีโอพูดถึงนะครับในฐานะที่เขาเป็น Vice President ของ Douglas College ในฝั่ง International นะแล้วก็เป็น IRCC ด้วยเนี่ยก็คือ1นะครับเมื่อปี 2023 ในช่วงปลายปีนะครับรัฐบาลแคนาดาปรับเพิ่ม Fund Requirement นะครับคือดูที่ค่าเรียนบวกที่ค่าครองชีพนะครับจากเดิมปีละ$10,000เนาะปรับค่าครองชีพเป็น 20,000 ตีกลมๆคือ 21,000 เหรียญแล้วกันนะครับอันนี้คือ Fund Requirement ขั้นต่ำที่เราต้องมีในการเตรียมยื่นขอวีซ่านะคือค่าเรียนนะครับ1ปีบวกค่าครองชีพที่ขั้นต่ำปีละประมาณ 21,000 แคนาเดียนดอลลาร์นะครับเรื่องที่2นะครับต้นปี 2024 นะครับมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงในเรื่องของ spouse and common law นะครับ open work permit นะครับคือหมายความว่าคนที่มีคู่สมรสหรือคู่ชีวิตที่จะติดตามไปเรียนใน college เนี่ยก่อนหน้านี้เคยทำได้ใช่ไหมครับณตอนนี้จะไม่สามารถทำได้แล้วนะครับคู่สมรสหรือคู่ติดตามนะครับคู่สมรสหรือคู่ชีวิตที่จะติดตามไปเรียนใน college ในแคนาดาเนี่ยก็ไม่สามารถที่จะขอ open work permit ติดตามไปทำงานได้แล้วนะครับอันนี้คือเรื่องที่2นะครับแล้วก็อีกเรื่องนึงคือปัจจุบันมีการใช้พาวนะครับเป็นการยืนยันว่านักเรียนที่สมัครเข้าเรียนเนี่ยมีที่นั่งในวิทยาลัยแล้วก็มีสิทธิ์ที่จะยื่นสมัครขอวีซ่าได้นะครับเมื่อก่อนมันคือใช้แค่เอกสารตอบรับหรือ LOA เนาะตอนนี้ต้องมี LOA กับ PAL นะครับ Provincial Attestation Letter นะครับต้องมี2อย่างนี้ประกบกันในการจะยื่นสมัครขอวีซ่าได้นะครับถ้าใครมีแค่เอกสารตอบรับแต่ไม่มี PAL Visa Officer ก็จะตีกลับนะครับทีนี้นะครับดักการ์สเป็นวิทยาลัยที่ออก LOA ให้ได้แล้วก็มี PAL มาประกบคู่หลังจากที่เขามีการเปลี่ยนแปลงแล้วตอนนี้ระบบมันก็เริ่ม in place นะครับเริ่มใช้งานได้ตามปกติแล้วก็สมัครไปเรียนนะครับก็ได้ LOA กับได้ PAL มาซึ่งเราเอาไปเตรียมใช้ในการยื่นขอวีซ่าได้ครับ Alright, let's move on to the topic that a number of students will be interested in hearing about because that is one of the highlight of studying in Canada, right? Because students who study at a public institution like Douglas would have the opportunity to work after graduate. This is called PGWP. So what are the changes that is happening with the PGWP at the moment?
Do you want to answer that or do you want me to answer? So there's been a few changes that have been introduced to the postgraduate work permit. So a couple of minutes ago, I discussed the fact that spouses, for example, are no longer eligible for a postgraduate work permit. But for students themselves, there's been 2 or 3 changes that are important to highlight. The first one is that postgraduate work permits will only be issued to a student that has been enrolled and graduated from a program that is aligned with labor needs. Mm-hmm. So the Ministry of Immigration has released a list of I can't remember how many, 600 or so programs that they deemed aligned with the needs of the labor needs of the country.
Right.
And if the program aligns with that list, then the student is eligible for a postgraduate work permit. They still need to meet other requirements for the postgraduate work permit, but that is a new requirement. Mm-hmm. A second requirement that was introduced was the English
language requirement.
English language requirement for universities. Students or graduating students need to show a SILP of 7, which I think it's a 6.5.
I think so.
In the IELTS. And for students graduating from a college, they need to show 5 SILP, which is
lower than the admission to the college.
Correct, which is lower than the admission to the college, right? So those are perhaps the 2 big changes that I can highlight that have been introduced in the past month to the postgraduate work permit.
Yeah, but just to clarify, students who are already studying in Canada in the academic programs that are eligible for PGWP with study permit, they will not be impacted.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So these changes are only going to be introduced for students that are getting their study permit after November 1st.
Yeah. On or after
of
November
this
1st,
year, of November 1
Yeah.
of this year. Students that are already in Canada in the system, they will be grandfathered under the old rules.
Yeah.
The only new rule that they will have to follow is the English
Right.
rule. So that one will be for everybody, for students in the system and for new students will have to show the SILP, but not the labor alignment.
Yeah, I will recap this, but I have one follow-up question because there are students. I mean, I don't know, because I believe IRCC may not have clarified this. There are students who study at, let's say, language institution with study permit. And they will continue on with the study permit already before November 1st. There will be students, and these students may be interested in studying for a diploma or post-degree diploma at a college. And then they will need to apply for study permit extension after November 1st. Should they choose a program that will be PGWP eligible, or they will be grandfathered into the current policy?
I think that's a very interesting question. I don't think that IRCC, which is the Ministry of Immigration, I don't think that they really thought about some of these nuances. And we've been asking for clarification around that. That is one important question. There are others as well, but that one we're looking for clarification from the ministry.
Yeah, but it might be possible that they will be grandfathered because they're already in Canada. But to be safe, if they can, maybe apply for permit extension before November.
That's correct.
Not only they're in Canada, but also they are holding a valid study permit.
Yeah.
That's
That's
so I hope the immigration will know this fact and then give them the study permit or the postgraduate work permit after they graduate, regardless of the
programs. I agree.
It becomes a little bit it's a little bit confusing because the study permit and the postgraduate work permit are two separate things, right? So the study permit, you don't need to think about a SILP or anything like that when you're getting your study permit. The study permit, the SILP is only important once you graduate. But obviously, students being so smart as they are, they're already thinking 3-4 years ahead when they graduate. So they want to make sure that they graduate from a program that will allow them to get a postgraduate work permit. Right? It's important also to mention that those programs will be reviewed and revised by immigration every year or every 2 years. We don't really know. But a student that got a study permit under one program, if that program met the SILP requirements, they will be grandfathered, even if that program, by the time they graduate, is no longer on the list. So that is a really good thing. And also, a student can go into a program that it's not SILP aligned right now, but it could be by the time they graduate, then they will get a postgraduate work permit. So at least immigration has been gracious in that sense.
So whatever it released right now is not static. It might evolve as there will be conversation between provinces and the federal government, maybe.
That's correct. And I think you and I were talking earlier that we don't really expect any more changes to the international student file anymore, because there's been a lot of changes already. So that is really good news, because it brings stability to the system and it allows institutions to finally catch their breath and start to strategize in terms of how to best advise students, how to train agents, and also, why not say it, also how to start coming up with programs that really make sense in this new environment, right?
Yeah, thank you. I'll touch on that in terms of what Taka said, but let me recap it in Thai real quick. ก็พูดถึงการเปลี่ยนแปลง PGWP นะครับสำหรับนักเรียนที่เรียนอยู่ในแคนาดาอยู่แล้วโดยมี study permit นะครับโดยเฉพาะถ้าอยู่ใน academic program ที่จะขอ PGWP หลังจบเรียนจบแล้วเนี่ยโดยที่ไม่ต้องการต่อโปรแกรมอะไรแล้วนะครับหมายความว่าเรียนโปรแกรมนี้จบแล้วจะขอ PGWP เนี่ยถ้าเรียนอยู่โดยมี study permit อยู่แล้วนะครับไม่ได้มีผลอะไรนะครับกับการเปลี่ยนแปลงนี้นะครับแต่คนที่ยังไม่มี study permit นะครับหรือต้องสมัคร study permit นะครับโดยที่จะยื่นตั้งแต่วันที่1 November 2024 นี้นะครับหรือหลังจากนั้นนะครับต้องเลือกดูโปรแกรมของ college นะครับที่match ไว้กับ CIP list นะครับคือ list ของตำแหน่งงานที่มีความขัดแคลนที่กำหนดโดยรัฐบาลกลางคือ Federal Government ของแคนาดานะครับถ้าโปรแกรมของเรานะครับอยู่ใน list ตรงนี้แล้วก็เป็นโปรแกรมที่วิทยาลัยเขาคอนเฟิร์มแล้วว่านะครับจะขอ PGWP หลังเรียนจบได้เนี่ยเราถึงจะขอ PGWP ได้นะครับโปรแกรมบางโปรแกรมนะครับถ้าเรายื่น permit เพื่อเข้าเรียนหรือไปเรียนหลังจากตั้งแต่วันที่1 November เป็นต้นไปเนี่ยอย่างเช่น hospitality culinary เนี่ยครับมันก็จะไม่สามารถขอ PGWP ได้แล้วรวมถึง business ในหลายๆโปรแกรมนะครับอันนี้ก็เป็นการเปลี่ยนแปลงอันหนึ่งนะครับอีกอันนึงที่เป็นประเด็นปลีกย่อยลงมาคือสำหรับนักเรียนที่จะไปเรียน college เนาะรวมถึง university นะครับพอเราเรียนจบแล้วนะครับก่อนที่จะยื่นขอ PGWP ได้ต้องสอบภาษาใหม่นะครับซึ่งใช้ IELTS ก็ได้ใช้เทสของที่แคนาดาก็ได้ครับอันนี้มีรายละเอียดให้ดูอีกทีนึงใครอยากอ่านว่า PGWP มีอัปเดตอะไรบ้างก็ดูใน Facebook Page ของก็ปันกันหรือ PGWC ได้นะครับเรามีโพสต์ที่เขียนเรื่องอัปเดตของ PGWP ไว้นะครับอันนี้เป็นอัปเดตใหญ่ๆนะครับเดี๋ยวขอไปต่อแล้วกันนะครับเพื่อไม่ให้เสียเวลานะครับใครมีคำถามอะไรก็ถามมาได้ถ้าอยากให้ clarify ตรงไหนนะครับแต่ว่าเอาขึ้นไม่ได้เหรอเอาขึ้นไม่ได้ครับเดี๋ยวเราเอาคำถามขึ้นให้นะครับที่มีถามมานะครับเรา move on ต่อโอเคมันต้องใช้เวลาอ่านพี่เลยอยากให้เอาขึ้นเขาจะได้อ่านด้วยthere are some questions it's a longer one so let's see if I need an optician to help with this for who interested to complete postgraduate degree which take 1 to 2 years then apply for PGWP which may last 1 to 3 years how many years approximately will it take to get immigration process completed and get citizenship? Okay, that is a long step, but maybe we can talk about that. Yeah.
So it can. Well, it depends on a lot of things, but typically, once the student graduates. And they can get a 1-year postgraduate work permit or a 3-year postgraduate work permit, depending on the length of the program that they graduated from. During that time, there's 2 or 3 different pathways that the student can access to get first PR, which is permanent residence. And then citizenship. So those two are different things.
Yeah.
So first, before getting citizenship, you need to become a permanent resident. And that in and of itself can take some time, depending on the job that you find after postgraduate work, after you graduate, depending on whether you find an employer that is willing to support you with an LMIA, depending on whether you speak both English and French. It depends on your age. It depends on whether you have family already in Canada. There is a program called Express Entry, which is basically the way in which the immigration department invites people to apply for permanent residency, and it's based on a score, and that score is allocated to people based on some of the things that I just talked about, and that score changes. Some years or some months, the score is very low, and people are invited, and there's a lot of people in the pool, and people can apply for a PR. And some years or some months, the score is very high, and not a lot of people can meet that high score. So not as many people are invited to become permanent residents. Once you become a permanent resident, it takes 3 years before you're able to apply for citizenship. And citizenship now takes anywhere from 1 year to 1.5 years to become a citizen. Once you put in your application for it, you have to pass an exam. And once you pass the exam, you have to wait until you are sworn with a group of people, usually on July 1st, but it could be some other time. So to get citizenship, it can be a good five years. If not longer.
Yeah, but all this is not guaranteed, depending on number of things.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what you're studying, the pathway that you take to get PR, because there's more than one. Whether the provincial government issues you a PNP, provincial nominee program. That's another thing that is rather complicated, but we can go into it and discuss it if you wish. There's several pathways, like I said. So depending on that pathway, it could be shorter or it could be longer to get PR, permanent residency, and then citizenship.
Yeah, thank you for the comprehensive explanation to all the process. These things can be learned more from Canada.ca website. I know it might be a lot of information, but those are the key concepts, right? There is a bit of follow-up question, but I'm not sure if we are able to address it in terms of success rate, right? How many students get citizenship after PGWP? If you do not have information, we can skip that, but there is a way, but it is competitive process and it depends on a number of things, including students themselves, their profiles, and the situation.
I think what's important to highlight is the fact that Canada is an immigrant-friendly country. It's a country that is made up of immigrants. Dave is an immigrant. I am an immigrant. And there is a way to regularize yourself, right? To become a permanent resident and then to become a citizen, which is really different from other countries that don't make it really easy. Canada is not like that, even though it sounds like a fairly complicated process. It is actually fairly straightforward. You can do it yourself, or you can hire a consultant to do it for you, to help you. But all of the forms, all of the instructions, everything is on the web, and you can see more or less what the process entails.
Yeah, thank you. Let's go back to the PGWP questions a bit in terms of the follow-up. So what Douglas College has done to adjust with the new PGWP criteria, and maybe we can do a bit of follow-up on programs that you might want to highlight and maybe interesting to Thai students. So because there are so many programs here, right? And maybe we can talk a bit about the programs that will most likely contribute.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit earlier. We talked a bit about the fact that the immigration department identified several areas and several programs that would make a program postgraduate work permit eligible. So at Douglas College, we have, like you said, many programs, at least 200, if not a few more. So the work is ongoing right now. We're going through the list and we're making sure that programs are eligible, that our programs have not been mislabeled, and that once we have a comprehensive list, an amalgamated list, we will release that on our website and we'll make it available for our agents and for our students. I don't know if you want to add a few more words about it. There's also some programs that we're looking at that used to be closed for international students. We're looking at opening them too.
Yeah, I think in the coming weeks, we are going to make this list available.
Sure.
And also some programs which before we were not open for international students, we are looking into opening those programs for international students in the near future. But my advice is keep on watching the list update from us. And also some programs, even though they are PGWP eligible, but it may mean that certain seats are very tight. So certain programs, we have very limited number of seats. I can name a few. Nursing program, it's going to be the very first time for Douglas College after 20 years of program offering. It's going to be the first year next year to open up the seats for international students, where the employment, your future become PR or citizen is almost a very smooth transition. And that program is going to be very competitive. We are trying to attract highly qualified students to compete for those limited number of seats. So my advice is to work with the professional counselors, closely with the professional counselors, and then contact the college if necessary.
Sure, thank you. So you mentioned a bit about nursing program that will be new. I mean, a program that already been there, but added to a list of international students program list. I also want to maybe ask about some of the program that most likely will be PGWP eligible and you want to recommend to Thai students. For example, like digital marketing or computer-related programs. What are some of those programs that you anticipate and most likely will continue to be PGWP eligible?
Yeah, some of the programs which is being very popular, for example, our computing science diploma programs, prepare the students for research university bound working towards their degree. And many of our computer studies in information system programs, which has been very popular, and also including our post-baccalaureate diploma program in computing information systems in 3 different streams, which are cybersecurity, emerging technology, and all data analytics. So those programs. And also don't forget, we do offer quite a good number of applied degree programs. Among them, it could be criminology and therapeutic recreation, those psychology, for example. Those programs are quite likely going to be PGWP eligible. So watch out for the list in the next coming days or a week.
Thank you. So you mentioned a bit about PNP, and I don't want you to go into all details, but looking at the study, work, and immigration possibilities, having a PNP to boost up that score might be helpful. So what are some of the programs that Douglas has to offer that might lead them to be able to, apply for a PR under BCPNP? Can you talk a bit more about this just to highlight?
Sure, I can in general terms because in British Columbia, so the PNP is a program that is jointly administered by the federal government and the provincial government. And it usually is aligned with the economic class of immigration. So there's, like I mentioned, there's several pathways to get your PR. One of them is the economic class. There's others like the spousal class and family class. But the economic class is jointly administered by the federal government and the province. The provinces have quite a bit of discretion in terms of changing those programs and creating pathways and ceasing some pathways that they used to have. So right now, the province is creating new pathways, revising the pathways that it used to have. But it has, for example, a graduate pathway, a PMP. So if you graduate with a master's degree or a PhD, for example, you are eligible to get a nominee letter, a PMP nominee letter from the province. If you're willing to reside up in the north, also you are eligible for a PMP. And there's several different ways in which a student could get a PMP certificate. And they are very different from province to province. Saskatchewan, for example, has a truck driver PMP, which BC doesn't have. Alberta has a different set of PMP programs. Some provinces are much easier to get a PMP than others. So it's best to work with an immigration consultant when it comes to the PMP, because it can get quite complicated. We have 10 provinces. Every province has a PMP program. And every PMP, it could be a dozen or more PMP programs, right? So you're looking at hundreds of these programs right across Canada, and it can get really, really cumbersome. So, but BC has a very robust number of them, and again, it's yet one of those ways in which students can gain permanent residency and then citizenship if they want.
Thank you. Can you help educate me and maybe clarify on one thing that I'm wondering? Like BC PNP has the tech, programs.
Yes.
Is that still going to be continue? And is it eligible for college graduates? I'm not sure.
I'm not exactly sure because they keep on changing. Right. And the idea of the PMP is exactly that provinces will be able to look at their labor needs and change programs quite frequently. So this is not the first time that BC has changed the PMP programs that it has. I checked them a year ago, but they could be completely different now. I think that, like I said, it's best to go to the PMP website, and everything is really well laid out there. And like I said, every province has a different one. So.
I understand. Thank you. So let's move on to my, final questions. If we looking into the future, we discussed this a bit and you mentioned, but maybe if you have anything else to add, how do you think these changes going to impact international student experience in Canada? And do you anticipate any further changes with visa and PGWP? You mentioned, but maybe we can emphasize on it a bit.
I don't anticipate any changes. Like I said, I think that we are entering into a period of stability in the sector, which is really good news for students and for institutions and for agents as well, because you don't want a system that is not predictable. So predictability is really, really important. I think that a lot of students have stayed away from making a choice to come to Canada because so many changes have been happening. But I am almost sure that no more changes are in the horizon. Certainly, we're not hearing anything from the minister or anything from our professional associations. So that is a really good thing. I think that it will change the student experience because there will be
perhaps less international students in the system. I think that the students that will decide to come to Canada will be more committed and will be more academically inclined. And I think that's a really good thing because, you know, the intention is to come to Canada and study. And immigration is an added bonus. But really, you know, the idea is to come and get a really good education that will allow you to become, you know, a successful global citizen, right? It just so happens that Canada is open to immigration and that there are pathways that exist once you graduate, right? I think that not all of the changes, some of the changes came in and they were legitimate. I think that it could have been a better way to do them, and there could have been a way to talk to provinces and to talk to the institutions rather than making them unilateral like they were made. But I think that we all agree that some changes were necessary, right? So I just wish that they had been that change had been made in a different way. But I think that the future is bright for international education in Canada. I think that it's time to rebuild the brand and rebuild confidence, and to tell prospective international students that there's now stability in the system, and that Canada continues to be very competitive and a very attractive choice.
Yeah, thank you. Data science. There is a question about programs at Douglas. Are there any programs recommended for data scientists? Maybe we can talk about the data analytic and the computer in data analytic, but the follow-up question also is co-op a part of the program, or possible is co-op? It's possible to do co-op in the program?
Yeah, in terms of data science, it all depends on the student's education background, whether you are high school graduates or whether you have someone who has already a bachelor degree in that data science. Then for students who want to further their study in a graduate level, we don't have any of the graduate master degree program in that area. For students who are fresh from the high school graduates, we have those programs ready for you, which will prepare you to begin your post-secondary foundation year courses at Douglas College, and then continue on your data science degree in the research universities. And co-op, yeah. If you are enrolled in any of the 2-year program in duration, then students are eligible to go through the co-op education. Again, this is an option. Students must fulfill the requirements, at least study 2 semesters, completing 18 credits, 6 courses, and then maintain a satisfactory grades. Then the student will be eligible to begin working with the counselors seeking for the co-op education opportunities.
Thank you. So if they meet the requirement, they can do that. And I visited Douglas, and you have a career department where students can get help with their resume, interview preparation. So the support is there. If they seek out and they take opportunity of it, that will help them a lot, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I don't think there is any question, and we will be closing this in a minute or two. I just have my last question. What are your tips that you would have for, word of advice for Thai students if they want to study in Canada?
My advice, I think the program choices is the key. I want to emphasize again. And Douglas College has proven to be a popular institution for Thai students. We have our international student from Thailand grown from 10 students to currently 64 students in the past 4 years. So the number speaks by itself. So whether it's our services, our program, we have made many of our Thai students choose to come to Douglas College to study.
Thank you. You have anything else to add as a final?
I would say apply and do your research, look into the programs that you're interested in, and apply early, and avail yourself of the information that is out there. I would also advise international students to choose a public institution rather than a private institution. There's many reasons behind it, but I think the main reason is that public institutions have always been granted the ability to for a postgraduate work permit in a way that private institutions have not been. So, and that continues to be the case under this new set of rules. And also public institutions have been around for longer, and they have to meet very stringent quality requirements. So that would be my advice. Apply early and apply to a public institution, and work with a great agent like you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing the information and answer to the questions. I think we will end the live session here. ก็ขอบคุณทุกคนนะครับที่รับฟังหรือว่าติดตามชมนะครับก็มีคำถามหรือความสนใจนะครับในการเรียนต่อแคนาดาหรือเกี่ยวกับโปรแกรมการเรียนต่างๆของดักการ์สเกี่ยวกับการสมัครเรียนนะครับก็ติดต่อก็บันการหรือ KPG มาได้นะครับที่ Line Official @KORPUNGUN นะครับก็ยินดีให้คำปรึกษานะครับ Once again, thank you for your time, and we'll
Thank you very much.
say bye to people here.
Well, thank you very much. It's our pleasure being here. Thank you.